well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Glad to be with you once again. Hopefully you had a very happy Thanksgiving and a good last week, because it has been a while since I've been able to do the show, but I'm glad to be back behind the microphone once again. And also very pleased to have Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio, with us on the program. You know, we've been doing Mondays with Mark for a while. Kind of got out of sync for a little bit, but we've got Mark back on the program today talking about, the big story, Joe Biden's pardoning of Hunter Biden for all crimes committed over the past 10 years. That would include lying on the Form 4473 about his drug use, as well as possessing a firearm while an unlawful user of drugs. Those crimes wiped off the book, along with his tax offenses that he pled guilty to. Joe Biden, after months of saying no, he would not interfere with the justice system, no, he would let the system run its course, no, he would not be pardoning his son. Pardoned his son. And again, we kind of knew that this was going to happen. I think most of us had this idea that Biden and his promises meant absolutely nothing, particularly after the election was over. But still, a big development at the very least. So let's talk about it with Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio. Take a look and a listen. Mark Walters from Armed American Radio, thanks so much for coming on the program. It's good to get back to Mondays with Mark. Glad to have you here.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me. And thank you for being on the program last night.
Absolutely. Always love getting a chance to come on the Monster Cast or the Daily Defense for that matter. But, topic number one last night is topic number one today as well. Joe Biden's pardoning of his son, Hunter. And, Mark, not only did Joe Biden wipe Hunter's conviction for being an unlawful user of drugs, possessing a firearm off the books, lying about his drug use on that Form 4473, he absolved Hunter Biden of any and all crimes that may have been committed over the past 10 years, right? I mean, This is not just the crimes that he's been convicted of. This is, in essence, trying to nullify any investigation that the incoming administration might want to conduct against Hunter Biden's dealings with Burisma, trading on his dad's name, things of that nature. All of that's now off the table.
Look for more, too. You know what was fun about this last night, Cam, was, Armed American Radio's Monster Cast goes live on Sundays at 8 o'clock on hundreds of radio stations. I say 8 o'clock is, we bill at 8 to 11 p.m., but you know how radio works. So you got news, weather, talk, top of sport, top of the hour. We actually go live at 8:06. Between 8 and 8:06 p.m. Eastern last night, I got that alert. And that changed it took a whole day's worth of show prep and pretty much tossed it right out the window. So we had about 4 or 5 minutes to read into that before the show went live. And of course, that was a huge topic of conversation for obvious reasons. But it was fun to be on air at the moment that story broke last night, and to be able to talk about it and be one of the first people out there talking about it while it was literally unfolding. And the first few things that came to my mind when I saw that was, oh, well, no shock. And you and I have talked about it before, both off air and on Cam and Company and on Armed American Radio, both shows, daily and the Sunday program. I was not surprised at all. I was a little bit surprised by the timing of it. My guess was, and I said it publicly, that this would have been the last move he made, was taking that presidential pen and whipping Biden out at 11:59 a.m. right before the inauguration and Trump took the oath. But then I was reminded of his sentencing dates, which were the 12th and I believe the 20th on both of these charges, in that range, right around the 12th or 13th of the month. So it made sense because we knew he was going to do this. I was not shocked by this at all. Predicted he was going to do it. He lies through his teeth to begin with. Who's not? He's going to pardon his son. That was a no-brainer. But what's now coming out today, as it's hitting the news cycle today, Mark Oliva over at National Shooting Sports Foundation put a great tweet up earlier today, and I'll quote him. Mark said, "Anyone who is surprised by this decision by President Joe Biden to grant clemency to his son, who was clearly in violation of federal law when he lied on the Form 4473, is either lying or delusional." And he gave that statement out at guns.com. And our dear friend Alan Gottlieb put an even bolder statement out last night on the air about how disgusting it was and despicable it was for Biden to do what he did, really encompassing everything that you just said, the lie, et cetera, and going back to Burisma in 2014. So I'm going to make a prediction on Cam and Company. Look for more to come. I think Biden might pre-pardon his brother and others in his family because that was clearly done for that reason. Another smack in the face. You've now got Democrats very upset about this. If you look out at Twitter today, you've got, and why? Let's look at why they're so angry. Because they've been covering up the Republican investigation into the Biden crime family for years. And now we see Biden pardons his son going back to 2014. And the question becomes, oh, really? Why? But the beautiful part about this, and as I look into this, and I'm sure you probably have too, you can subpoena these people now that are pardoned, and they can no longer take the fifth. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but boy, will that be fun to watch, to get the Biden family, the Republicans, up to maybe extend this investigation in the Trump term when they cannot plead the fifth under congressional subpoena. Now, they'll fight those subpoenas. It'll be a while before they sit down. But nonetheless, I think we're just seeing the beginning of this, quite frankly. But it's going to be fun to watch it unfold. It really is.
I suspect that you're right about this just being the beginning. And again, I mean, you talk about the timing of this, right? And even if Hunter Biden had been sentenced, I mean, honestly, Mark, I doubt that he would have been ordered to prison right away. He probably could have appealed this and, remained free on appeal. So I think this was Biden, so as you say, I mean, the implication was that this was going to be one of the last things that he did. I don't know what this says about what the timing says about this, except perhaps maybe that Joe Biden was concerned that Hunter was going to be sentenced to prison, was going to have to go right away. And so in order to keep his son out from behind bars, go ahead and issue the pardon now. But again, this was a full pardon, right? This wasn't a commutation of Hunter Biden's sentence, which would have, perhaps not allowed him to be exempt from testimony, right? Because he still would have been convicted of this crime. It's just that his punishment would have been wiped away. Now, this is in essence Joe Biden saying, no crime was committed here when Hunter lied on that Form 4473. No crime was committed when Hunter Biden bought a gun at the same time that he was using crack cocaine. And Mark, that's where I have a problem here, right? I mean, you and I have talked about this before. The statute that Biden was charged with violating, should that even be a crime? Again, when more than half the country has legalized marijuana, for example, to one degree or another, you've got people like Patrick Darnell Daniels, who have been sentenced to almost 5 years in prison for being an unlawful user of marijuana while possessing a firearm. Joe Biden didn't pardon Patrick Daniels, to the best of my knowledge, right? He's still facing that prison sentence. So this is, you're right. I was not shocked to see Joe Biden do this. When he said he wouldn't pardon Hunter, that was the most empty promise that a politician could make, right? Please. Because you knew in that lame duck session after the election was over, Biden was going to be free to do whatever he wanted. So this did not come as a surprise to me. But the double standard of the Biden administration when it comes to enforcing gun laws, that to me is the most significant aspect of this, right? Because you've got a DOJ that maintains that this statute is fully constitutional, that it is enforceable, that it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter who your parents are. If you, again, are a serious drug user, and that can mean using medical marijuana, right? You have lost your Second Amendment rights. And then we find that, there's an exemption here. If your last name is Biden, the law doesn't apply to you.
It's a two-tier system of justice that was laid out right before Americans' eyes. And Americans aren't stupid. They see what's happening. All I can tell people watching this is, look, we knew this was going to occur. Is it worth getting angry about? Yeah, it is. But we're going to fix these problems. And here's the good part about it. They're aging out. They're done. Biden out, the corruption of Biden out, Pelosi aging out, Schumer aging out, McConnell, let's not put it all on Dems, all the rhinos, the aging, they're all aging out. You got a new sheriff coming into town that I have no doubt, particularly with Kash Patel at the helm of the FBI. We still don't know what's getting ready to happen at the ATF yet, but Dettelbach will be history. Now you're going to look and see, when I see these idiot leftists on Twitter talking about, take that, MAGA idiots. I forget who one of the political pundits was saying this, demonizing, continuing to demonize half the nation, calling them MAGA idiots, et cetera, even though they got their clocks cleaned in the election by those quote unquote MAGA idiots. When you see their responses like this, the hate that you see from these folks is really remarkable because they clearly aren't thinking this through. Trump now basically was handed a green light by Joe Biden. So let's talk J6. You and I talked about it last night. Watch how pardons come on day one. Watch a flurry of pardons happen. There's no doubt in my mind. And you talk about Darnell. We talked about him last night on Armed American Radio. He's not the only one. I pulled just a cursory search last night with a quick minute that I had before we went live on the air and Googled, I forget what I put in, but convictions under lying on form 4473 ATF form. And there was so-and-so man convicted. Boom, one story right after the other of these people that are sitting in prison for years rotting. And Hunter Biden walks, and Biden has the audacity to tell us that it was a weaponized DOJ that went after his son for political purposes when he's running the DOJ. It's his DOJ. Now, I really, one of the fun questions to ask, and I know they're in Angola now, perfect timing. You look at this last night, they're out of the country. Can't wait to watch KJP, stand there. I'm really looking forward to seeing Ducey from Fox News go after her about this and using Biden's own words against him. No one is above the law except my kids and except my family, while screaming about Trump. It just, the people that are hating on him or hating on Republicans right now for being upset about this by claiming that no one's prosecuted. You know what else was fascinating? You could go back to May 31st of 2022 and look at, and I believe it was 2022, it might have been 2023, when the ATF was putting tweets out when Minnesota signed recreational marijuana and medical marijuana into law. The ATF is putting information out on tweets. Watch it, Minnesota residents. It's still a crime. We are prosecuting, warning people, except Hunter Biden, that it's okay. Americans have had enough. And I think at this stage of the game, Cam, it's really fair to say, just get them the hell out. Get them out. Go away. We're going to come in and fix this problem. It's not a shock. I don't want anybody to be upset about it. We knew it was coming. Now it happened. Just clean house. This is just more proof that Trump needs to come in there and literally cut it off at the knees and just clean the house. And I think it just gives him even more of a mandate to do so than the election itself did. So this is going to be really fun to watch unfold, frankly.
Yeah, it is. And, again, we don't know who the new ATF director is going to be. I think Dettelbach is gone on day one. Assuming Pam Bondi is confirmed as Attorney General, then I think the question becomes, Mark, are we going to see this same mentality that we've seen from the DOJ under Biden, under Merrick Garland, right? Where there is no limiting a principle. If you were convicted of any offense, if you are an unlawful user of drugs, if you are, considered dangerous, quote unquote, in any way from the federal government, then you've lost your Second Amendment right. And that can mean, lying on a food stamp application 30 years ago, right? If the federal government decides that jaywalking is a serious crime, then all of a sudden jaywalking could lead you to lose your right to keep and bear arms. I want to know what the Trump administration and what Pam Bondi, assuming she's confirmed, what is that stance going to look like? Are we still going to see the same attitude from the DOJ that even a minor paperwork, a victimless crime that was, that resulted in probation will be enough to deprive you forevermore of your right to keep and bear arms? Are we going to continue to see these prosecutions against quote unquote unlawful users of drugs, even when those drugs happen to be legal in the state where they're consumed? And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Do you think that we will see a change in DOJ policy once we have a change in administration?
Emphatically, yes. Let's go to Bondi for just a second, because as we've talked about before, this is an interesting pick. These hearings with Bondi are going to be, I'm not going to say they're going to be explosive. They would have been explosive if Gates was still the nominee. I don't think they're going to be as explosive with Bondi. I think she's a little bit more palatable to Washington insiders. But when you talk about the parkland issues that we've discussed before, her apparent support for red flags in Florida over and above the Baker Act that they've already had in place in Florida for decades, that's been effective. Did they need a red flag law in Florida? Of course they don't. They're unconstitutional on their face. They turn our system of jurisprudence upside down. How is she going to handle those questions, right? And I'm not Trump, I wish I was, because the first thing I would do, and I suspect this may happen, maybe not to the degree I or you or gun owners would like to see it happen, but if I'm Donald Trump after this pardon, I'm going to ask Pam Bondi as the AG. I want a list of everybody that's been convicted of similar charges in front of me. I want to look at every single one of these things individually and make a determination about what I'm going to do with them as far as pardoning them as well. Because I don't think you're going to see those convictions. Absolutely not. And I think it's not a stretch to say that, in fact, because of this pardon, you may very well see the DOJ under Bondi, and I would love to see her do it. It would really go far for people like us that harbor a little bit of maybe a little bit of anxiety about where she stands going forward. That remains to be seen in the hearings. I've said I'm going to be fair with her on that. I want to hear what she has to say. I'm going to sit back like the gun groups. But boy, I'll tell you, it'd be a feather in her cap at this point to literally stand up and say, we're going to look at every single one of these cases and see what we can do. We cannot have a two-tier system of justice. Biden just made it okay. And I think all the leftists out there that are clamoring on Twitter right now are viewing it that way. Okay. They don't see that this is going to come back to get them. What are they going to do now if Trump pardons Darnell or whoever it may be that's sitting in prison for 2 or 3 years? They're going to complain about that because he committed a gun crime,
right?
The same crime that Hunter Biden admitted to and was convicted of, 3 of them, I might add. That's why this is going to be, we're living in upside down times. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. As you and I sit here, there's a male playing volleyball at San Jose State, and the coach doesn't understand why all the other teams didn't want to play them. I mean, what in the world is happening out there today? Again, I think all of this gets fixed, and I am hopeful, and I would love to see the AG and the ATF be fixed to a point that we literally flip the script here, Cam, and start protecting gun owners and gun rights in a way that we've never seen before. And I think that's going to happen. And I think this pardon may push us in that direction, even more so than Trump might have wanted to do.
All right, let me ask you one more takeaway from this. The day that Hunter Biden was convicted, Joe Biden gave a big speech to Everytown, right? Do you remember that? They were having their big confab in Washington, D.C. He was about an hour late. And of course, nobody ever mentioned it, right, at Everytown. So I'm curious, you talk about how there are some on the left who are, yay, take that, MAGA idiots. There are some on the left who say, this is destroying Biden's legacy. I'm curious, what do you think the reaction should be from the White House office, from these people who staff the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention to Joe Biden's pardon? Should they? I have a feeling they're going to just, avert their eyes and not pay any attention to this whatsoever. But to me, I think those folks should step down. They should resign. They should be disgusted at what Joe Biden's doing. Do you think we'll see that?
They absolutely should. If they had any convictions, if they were honest in what they really truly say, if they believe what they say, if they believe what they're trying to sell the American public, then that's exactly what should happen, but it won't. They will remain silent, period. They will say nothing. It's not in their interest to say anything because, look, this isn't about stopping crime. Let's go back to Bondi in Parkland. We talked about this last night. Would the red flag law have stopped what happened in Parkland that was put into place? No. Would a ban on 18 to 20-year-olds? No. Would an extra 2-day wait period have stopped? No. What's stopping shootings in Florida right now? Armed guardians in schools across the state of Florida. So it's not about stopping crime. It's never about what they say it's about. It's about stopping you. It's an impediment to you and I lawfully owning firearms. No, they're going to stay silent on this. It's in their political best interest to do so because they don't believe any of it. They don't. They're there to push one agenda, and that's to ban guns in America, and we all know it. And their silence will speak volumes to that as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Everytown's Twitter feed as you and I are talking here, and nothing, nothing from Everytown about the pardon, nothing from Giffords about the pardon. And I suspect that you're right, Mark. They're just going to studiously ignore the pardon just as they ignored the conviction here. All right, listen, my friend, I really appreciate you coming on the program. It is great to be back behind the microphone. It is great to have you with me. And I say we do this again next Monday. What about you?
I am game. Love it. I'll take every Monday that you have open, brother. I love it. Thank you very much.
Hey, man, I always appreciate it, Mark. Thank you. And remind folks how they can tune into the Monstercast or the Daily Defense.
Yeah, it's real simple. ArmedAmericanRadio.com for both. You can watch the program live. You can listen to it. Don't watch it while you're driving. Don't be one of those people, please, on your devices or TVs. But I do want to put a shameless plug in as well. We've got, if you want to get your Christmas shopping out of the way, every single one of our sponsors at Armed American Radio have you covered. Everything from goat guns to cleaning supplies to firearms to accessories. ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Get rid of your shopping. Do it early on Cyber Monday. Sure.
Awesome. All right, Mark Walters, thank you again, sir. Hopefully next Monday we can talk about Trump's pick for ATF. But until then, we will be paying close attention to the latest segment of news and information, both here at Bearing Arms and, of course, on the Armed American Radio platform. Mark Walters, we'll see you here next Monday.
Thank you, appreciate it.
My thanks to Mark for joining us on the program. Looking forward to catching up with him again next Monday. And, of course, be sure to check out Armed American Radio each and every day, right along with Bearing Arms Cam and Company. All right, let's get to today's Armed Citizen story. Our good deed of the day and our recidivist report. We'll start there. A case out of Brattleboro, Vermont. Not necessarily a true recidivist report. In fact, I think one of the reasons why this plea deal was made is because the defendant in question did not have a previous criminal history, but still, it's one of those, what the heck were they thinking, plea bargains. Here's the headline. Brattleboro woman, 22, pleads guilty to 13 charges, and these were fairly significant charges, I might add. The Brattleboro Reformer reporting on the crimes that 22-year-old Aria Sweeney charged with multiple counts of assault and robbery spanning 3 different incidents in Brattleboro, Vermont this fall, charged with assaulting multiple women, although court records reveal that none of them were seriously hurt. Maybe not for lack of intent, however. Court records also revealed that in addition to the attacks in Brattleboro, Sweeney had charges pending against her in Caledonia County for a series of incidents in the town of St. Johnsbury. She'd been charged, in addition to assault and robbery, with resisting arrest, possession of fentanyl, aggravated assault, and numerous charges of violating conditions of release. So once she was out on bond, apparently, she continued to get into trouble. One incident occurred at a apartment in November where Sweeney was supposed to be under a curfew and confined to an apartment on a different street. The victim in that case told police she did not know Sweeney, but described her to Brattleboro police because of her distinctive curly red hair. And Brattleboro police were familiar with Sweeney because of prior incidents. She was charged with grabbing the woman on the 3rd floor of that apartment building, kicking her in the face, grabbing her jacket, which contained $20 in cash. He then allegedly dragged the woman down a set of stairs. Earlier assaults took place at the Brattleboro Transportation Center back in October. So again, no serious injuries, but not for lack of trying, it sounds like. Despite the serious nature of the offenses, Sweeney pleaded guilty to 2 amended charges of simple assault in a protected professional, a police officer, resisting arrest, 2 counts of possession of fentanyl, as well as aggravated disorderly conduct, numerous counts of violating conditions of release. She was sentenced to 9 to 12 months in jail, as well as 4 years of probation. But the majority of that jail sentence was suspended. And Aria Sweeney is only going to have to spend about a month behind bars as part of this plea deal. According to the Brattleboro Reformer, Wyndham Superior Court Judge John Treadwell thanked both the prosecution and the defense for coming up with the plan for Sweeney, noting her youth and her previous lack of a criminal record. Now, first of all, she's 22. That's an adult. She might be a young adult, but she's still an adult. And the lack of criminal record, I mean, okay, so she had not previously been arrested, but boy, she racked up a lot of charges, right? Multiple offenses over a period of a couple of months, and still a slap on the wrist there for Aria Sweeney in Brattleboro, Vermont, just a few weeks behind bars for a litany of violent crimes. On to today's Armed Citizen story from the Sunshine State of Florida, where the Miami Herald reports a teen defending his home grabbed a gun and shot a suspected intruder. according to law enforcement in Florida. This was in Tampa. Tampa Police Department reporting yesterday in a news release that the suspect survived being shot by a teenager in the home. Investigators say that he appeared uninvited inside that home around 3:30 Sunday afternoon. Police said the preliminary investigation revealed that the suspect, a male in his mid-teens, unlawfully entered an occupied residence when there was a confrontation with a teen who was inside the home. The teen resident then shot the suspect, who fled from the residence. The suspect found nearby with a gunshot wound, taken to the hospital. At last report, listed in a stable condition. They say that a firearm was recovered at the scene. Police say the investigation is ongoing and charges are pending. Sounds like the charges are pending against the intruder, not the teenager who defended themselves from that armed intruder. Again, we don't have a lot of information about this incident. Don't have really any information about the victim in this case, other than the fact that apparently a teenage boy. Don't know how old. Don't know if the parents might be facing charges for allowing their juvenile access to a firearm. This is something that we talked about before. You know, with these one-size-fits-all gun storage mandates, you as a parent, even if you believe and you know that your child is responsible enough to have access to a firearm for purposes just like this, right? Self-defense. In some cases and in some states, allowing your child access to that firearm, even for a lawful purpose like self-defense, could still land you in trouble with the law. So we will keep our eyes open for any more details on this case as it becomes available. And finally today, our good deed of the day. This one, I'm going a little personal. I was looking at some news stories. There are some great Good Samaritan stories over the past few days, but I want to give a special thanks to the nurses in the oncology clinic who've been working with my wife for years. As you know, week before Thanksgiving, Miss E was in the hospital. She got out and was at home on Thanksgiving. But in addition to the cancer, she's recovering from pneumonia. It takes a lot out of her. And I got a call from one of the oncology nurses a couple of days before Thanksgiving, and she said, "Would you mind if I brought over a couple of side dishes?" And I told her, I said, "Listen, we've got our kids are coming in. They're going to help Miss E in the kitchen. But if you want to do that, we would certainly, have room at the table. And I would really appreciate that." So day before Thanksgiving, this nurse came out. Erica is her name. Not only did she make some sides, but some of the other nurses in the oncology clinic did as well. So they brought a breakfast casserole for us to cook, sweet potato casserole for the Thanksgiving Day dinner, a lovely mozzarella cheese dip with fresh tomatoes and some other stuff that did get eaten and did get put to good use. But again, just above and beyond. And when we talk about those folks who are just stepping up in the right place at the right time, willing able to do the right thing, that definitely applies to these caregivers who went above and beyond to ensure that Missy and my entire family could have a wonderful Thanksgiving. So again, to Erica and all of the nurses there in Farmville, thank you so much for your very, very good deed. Now, that is going to do it for this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. I want to thank you, as always, for being a part of the program. I am looking forward to being back with you again tomorrow, knock on wood. I will say that life is pure chaos right now, so if I don't show up one day, I will be back as soon as I possibly can. We are just trying to get through things day by day right now, but the plan for now is to be here all week. So I will look forward to seeing you back here again tomorrow. Until then, be sure to check out BearingArms.com. We're keeping you up to date on all of the latest Second Amendment news and information from all across the nation. And we will see you back here with another edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company on Tuesday. Until then, be well, be safe, and be free. Just like Hunter, I guess, right? All right, we'll see you soon.